Hi, I'm John. This is my show, A Sports Reckoning. So, I'm gonna just, for the sake of just doing it, and it's actually kind of difficult for me to slow down my speech process, the way I speak, and my aggressive style, because one of the funny things that I do is like at the end of my videos, I always I build like during my video. I'm not sitting here, I have a plan, like I don't plan out exactly, but this is just kind of the natural progression of how my videos develop. You'll see a lot of times it's like I start speaking and then I start talking a little bit louder, I start getting a little bit faster, a little bit more aggressive towards the end to where I'm just like fully blowing up, and then I shut the video off, right? That's like the closeout. It kind of develops that way, right? And it's like one of the things, like just little explanation is like a lot of people don't know is that the way my videos started to develop that way is because I take care of my dad. He's got Alzheimer's, right? And so in the beginning of my Michael Jackson page, when I was always making those videos, my dad was always in the room with me, right? And so as I was making my videos, as he progressed more in his illness, would progress and stuff, he would get a lot more boisterous, vocal or whatever, right? And as I was doing the stuff, he would just start rumbling and bumbling, and it's like he'd start saying stuff, right? And he'd be like ruin my videos and things, right? So how I started to overcome that, and this is before I told the people that I was taking care of my dad. I didn't want to interject that into my story at all about anything of what I was doing, right? So I was always trying to find ways to avoid it, but it's like, well, he's here with me when I'm making my videos. He's always with me all the time. I didn't have any free time. He's always with me. So what I had to start to do is I would start speaking up. I'd raise my voice, right? And I'd start talking fast because I got to talk. And this is how my videos developed that way. And so I would start raising my voice and I'd start speaking faster because then that would shut him up. And as I would start screaming at people, and too, it's like it just inadvertently shut him up. Right? He wouldn't start talking, and if I made funny jokes and stuff, he'd always laugh, and it's like fine and stuff, but it was messing up my videos because I wasn't trying to tell people that that's what I was doing, was taking care of my dad. I was trying to keep that completely out of it until it finally came to a point where I couldn't avoid it anymore. He was just constantly ruining my videos, and he's either just saying stuff or he's making up his own commentary. That's what it was like. He would just like start making up his own commentary, or he would laugh, and it's like, so there was obviously another person in the room, so I had to finally explain to the people is like what was going on with that. And then I just kind of said, well, I'm not, because I'd try and edit out, or I would redo the video. There's like I said, and then what happened is I developed the pattern of speaking fast, speaking aggressive, and then getting louder and louder until I start yelling at people. And that's the process of what I had to do in order to make a video. It's like I had to talk that way and shit, right? But so now, like, my dad's in his room and stuff, right? So we're at the point now where I'm taking care of him, where I keep him in his room, because I can't keep him in my room, because just transporting him from my room to his room over there to where his bathroom's at and stuff, just transporting him across the house became way too much of a burden. So I have to keep him in his room, which I don't like. I'd rather have him with me. It's like, at least there's some form of entertainment, I liked it better when he was here with me. It was better, than being alone and shit all the time, right? But anyway, so that's part of the development of how my videos originally developed that way, right? And then what happened is, like, as I started talking faster and I started doing that stuff, I personally, like, people say, like, treat people how you want to be treated and stuff, right? Okay, so when I started making videos like that, because I would always rewatch my video to see my mistakes that I made and stuff like that, right? And I want to hear how it sounds. Like, because also, there's a thing about what I do when I'm doing my investigation is that part of it is you got to speak it into reality, right? A lot of times I'm questioning a lot of things, and I'm trying to work it out, right? And so, like I said, I don't have anybody to speak with and shit, right? I don't have anybody to have these conversations where I'm trying to work out these problems, or I'm trying to figure out how it is. And so sometimes I just speak it into reality, and then when I hear it back, when I hear my thought process that's going on where I'm talking about my Michael Jackson story, as I hear my conclusions and stuff, I can hear how I'm working it out, and with the evidence that I'm putting forward and the facts and dates, and when I hear it, then it helps clarify it a little bit better. So that's kind of the process of how I develop my videos and my investigation. There's like all kinds of stuff like that about the way I do it. And so as I listen back to my videos, I actually found out that I enjoyed the videos better. I enjoyed them when I was speaking fast and I was going fast through it. I thought the videos were more enjoyable. And then when I start yelling at people and yelling, I actually think it's really funny. I laugh really hard when I do that stuff, right? So I found it to be more enjoyable as I speak faster and I be more aggressive and I yell at people. I enjoyed the video better and I thought it was really comical. I thought it was really funny. I actually like the videos better that way. So that's like where I'm at now. You see, like how I make these videos now. It just kind of was the natural progression and development of how it worked as me being a YouTuber and stuff, right? So, okay, getting that out of the way. And so I want to talk about this, the 101 Kurosawa card. Okay, so AIH Sports, this is one of the big cards that AIH attacked the great curator on as his pump and dump thing, right? And right off of the bat, like, okay, I wasn't collecting the Star Wars cards, right? And so I can see when these guys were opening up the packs, it was really obvious that the cards were really nice. They were nice cards, but it's not like I specifically was like drawn to them and I had to have them and stuff. It's not something like as an investment or, you know, if I was going to shows and stuff, I might pick up cards here and there, like a couple little ones if they're really cheap. It's not something, but you understand, right? It wasn't primarily my thing and stuff, but I thought the cards were really nice cards. As being a Star Wars fan and being a card collector, when I saw the cards, I think it's the Galaxy because I get confused about what the box. I think this is the Star Wars Galaxy. It might even say it on the slab there or whatever. But anyways, I thought they were really nice cards. I could clearly see that those would be something that would be worth collecting, especially like somebody that's a big Star Wars fan. Why wouldn't you collect those? They were cool and stuff. But what came out of that, though, was the Seven Samurai Kurosawa card, okay? So, like, I'm into classic film cinema, too. So I know who the film director is, the Kurosawa, who directed the film The Seven Samurai. I know I've seen a few of his films, the Kurosawa. Like, I'm pretty sure that the last film he made was in color. I think it was the only film that he ever made in color, because on the TCM Turner Classic Movie Channel, it was really cool. They give a lot of, they don't just show you the movie, they tell you about the backgrounds of the people involved, actors, the directors, and things like that. There's really cool stuff like that. And so, they would talk about Kurosawa on TCM and stuff and show Seven Samurai. I know I've seen Seven Samurai, and like I said, I've seen a few of his films, but I think the last one, by saying that I know something about him, like I said, I think the last film that he made was in color. I think it was the only film that he was made in color, and people, I think there was some American, like Steven Spielberg or something like that went over and assisted him on that or something. There was something like that. But like I said, I know who he is, right? And I know he's a big film director, I believe out of Japan and stuff. Right, so I was familiar with Kurosawa, right, and the Seven Samurai. So when this card came about, when this card was shown to the public, this card is really freaking cool. This one is something beyond the guy, and then here's another thing too. It's like, okay, like there's things that see, like I talk bad about a lot of people and I do a lot of stuff, and so, but I also would say that, because I talk bad about the great curator as much as anybody, that I do not, there's things that he does that I do not like. And it's revolving around that gentleman's investor code. Because if he wasn't putting forth that gentleman's investor code, then I would let it slide. Well, that's just the way he is. But since he puts forth that gentleman's investor code, and then he doesn't adhere to it for his personality traits and the way he interacts and stuff and does business, I don't think that he follows it himself. So that's like ultra disgusting to me. And that's why I really aggressively go against him and stuff. And it's all around that gentleman's investor code. The other stuff he does, I don't really care. It's just, that's just the laws of nature, the way it's going to be and stuff, right? But like I said, I'm super offended. And when somebody like that doesn't understand that, it's like, you are over offending me. It's to the point where it's like, that's why I'm super aggressive towards him, and he doesn't care. And then it's like, so then I have to ask, it's like, well, then if you don't care and you definitely are not a good person that follows that gentleman's investor code, that's when I have to start putting forth these conclusions. Well, in my world, when I see somebody like that, I start saying, well, if you don't care, then you have an agenda, that you're doing that. It's an agenda-based program of what you're doing. And if you have an agenda-based program of you're putting forward this woke BS nonsense, then I have to start questioning, like, are you a spy? Is that who you actually are? Are you over here as a spy and you're spying for, it's like, yeah, that's what's going to happen, the natural process of what's going to happen. And I will not look at him as a quality human being because he has never acknowledged his wrongdoings and the damage of what he's brought into the community, he's never acknowledged any of that. And like I said, if he will not acknowledge that, I cannot trust him as being a good person. And I have to say that he's more of an agenda-based thing. And if he's got an agenda-based, it's like, well, you're some kind of spy. You're some kind of plant in this community. So that's why I say I have zero trust for the guy at all, whatever. But even people like that, I still won't. There still could be something that they might put forth this really quality video. There might be something that they do that's really quality. And on the Kurosawa thing is one thing that they did. I liked the card. I liked watching this whole process go down, except how he screwed Merle. Okay, but I liked seeing it all happen. But then after this, they were able to get the artist, the guy who actually painted this. They had known some guy that went to school with them. They worked it out. They organized it. They got that guy to come on a live stream, and that live stream was high quality. It's like in the sports card community, because it's the sports cards and collectibles community. Even the people that harp, no, that's not real sports cards. It's like this is a community of sports cards and collectibles, non-sports cards, all related. It's for people to argue that, oh, well, I specialize in this, and so I don't want to talk to you. It's like those people are like the lowest of the low. They don't even appreciate collectibles. If you only appreciate the collectibles of which you collect, then to me you're not a collector, because that means that you don't understand what a collectible actually is, and you can't appreciate somebody else's enjoyment off of that collectible of what they're getting. If you can't appreciate their enjoyment and their interest, if you can't understand that that's taking place, that just because you don't understand it, that doesn't mean that the other people don't get it. So that's what I'm saying. The people that are all about their own little community and that's all they want to talk about, I don't respect them either, because there's other stuff that's big. Stuff like this. There was a card that came out that was this specific card. The artist who made this made a really cool card. This card transcended Star Wars. It was bigger than Star Wars. This card was a serious chase card, and I give like Merle and the great curator an extreme amount of credit for recognizing that card was special. That when they looked at all of the cards, right? One card that they knew that was like, they were able to identify. This is a thing that's like that was skill, that it shows that they're not total frauds in the community, because they were able to identify out of that box of cards, they were able to identify the card that was like, this is the chase card. This is the good one. And then as they look into it more, they could see there's more to it. This, not only does it appear to be good, look at what it's called, the Kurosawa card, and it's the Seven Samurai. It's like, and then it's really cool, And so like I said, then they got the artist on there, and he explained all of the process of actually making the card, the process of him dealing with like the Star Wars manufacturers, and how George Lucas has like first right to buy the original painting off of the person, like, because the actual painter, he gets to keep the original artwork. That was like the deal of how it works. He makes the painting, but then they have all of the rights, all the copyrights for the card, and but he gets to keep the original painting, the actual painting that he painted. And then they said something like George Lucas would buy like a lot of those paintings, which maybe George Lucas did buy this one, because he would buy a lot of the ones, he would buy a lot of the original artworks and stuff like that. So like the story was really cool. It was a really good dialogue. The information that came out of that video, super cool, highest quality and stuff, right? I loved it. That's what I'm saying. It's like when I knocked Curator so much and stuff, okay, but it's like I loved that live stream with the guy who painted this and the story. I loved it and stuff, right? But so now, talking about the actual thing, let's talk about the actual thing, because this is a big thing with the AIH Sports. And what I'm going to say is where I really am making this video is because AIH Sports needs to come out and publicly apologize on this card. He was wrong about this. He was totally wrong about this card, and I'm going to prove to you that this card is different. And they were right. Every instinct that they had about this card and pumping this card up and highlighting it, every instinct they had was right. And it's still, this is the card. They made the right choice, and they deserve credit for that and stuff. And AIH Sports, because he's knocking the PMGs and seeing the price reduction of what happened there, he's not acknowledging that this card has not had a price reduction. And this was the card that he was saying that they were hyping up so much, and this card has not had a price reduction. And look at this, look at what's happened to like PMGs with the decrease in the value of their cards, but this card did not do that. So this card is really good. This is a really good one. So let me tell you about the background of the story. So, and here, because here's bigger pictures too, where people call it a grail card, right? And so this is things about where the problems come out. So Merle acquires the card, I believe, from just a random dealer for I believe he got it for $500, right? Merle acquired the card. Nothing wrong with that. There's nothing. He didn't screw the guy. Like, he didn't underpay him. If the guy said, "Hey, I got this, and I would like $500," they agree on a price. Then that's the price they agreed on. It's not Merle's job to tell the seller, "Hey, that card has potential to be worth much more than that." It's not his job to tell him that. And he has no responsibility. There's no ethical responsibility for him to tell that guy that card could be worth more. It's not his job. That is not his job, right? His job is, as a buyer, his job is to say, "What do you want for it?" The guy puts down a price. His job is to pull the money out of his pocket and pay for it. That's what he did, and he acquired the card. Okay, so nothing wrong there. But now Merle has acquired a grail card, a legitimate grail card, and it is a grail card to him, and he knows it's a chase card. He knows it's a good card. Now, this is what I'm saying what's wrong with the industry. At that moment, as being Merle, you're supposed to understand that you just got lucky because of your placement in this industry, and this is what it's like. You're supposed to look for these super deals. And when you find a super deal, your job at that time is to hold that card. Hold it. That's a grail card. You acquired it for dirt cheap. Your job now is to not sell it until it gets to that $100,000 price. That's your job. You will now hold that card because it's $500. The $500 is not going to hurt you, but you've just acquired something that can be $100,000, and it's a piece. It's an attractive piece, like the way now Daps is wearing it on a necklace. That should have been you, Merle. That should have been your card. You should have got it graded. You should have then seen like that the Logan Paul is wearing cards on a necklace. You should have then produced that card into a necklace because it's so cool. You could have been wearing that. That could have been your necklace. So everybody would have known, oh, Merle, who's Merle? Oh, Merle's the guy that wears that Star Wars Kurosawa superfractor like a necklace, you know? Everybody would have known. You would have got known for that. That was your card. You screwed up. You would have acquired it. You would have possessed it like it was a grail card. You would have showed it off that it is a grail card. You would have, that would have highlighted that card. Press would have brought all the attention to you. But because this is the thing, it's like, okay, now did your friend backstab you and you allowed yourself to be taken advantage of you because it was just your friend? Or are you really not a real true card collector and you never understood the value of a real grail card? You never understood what a real grail card is because you didn't care about keeping it. So this is like the conflict of the interest of this and the next transaction, right? This is where the problems come in between, like, who's got the problems? Is Merle really a card collector because he did acquire a grail card, but then he flipped it really quick, for $5,000? It's like, okay, $5,000, yes, you made a good profit on the card, but this industry is not about always making a good profit on a card. This industry should be about that once you place yourself in a position to acquire this type of grail card, you got to keep, there's certain cards that you got to keep. Keep it. If you're a card collector and you're a real enthusiast and you really appreciate this stuff, when you come across one of these things, like I can tell you a funny little story, is that the Pac-Man Breaks guy, I had heard that he had acquired a long time ago a Josh Allen gold prism, right? He pulled it out of a pack. If you go back and see it in one of his videos, I did go back and watch it. He's like on a beach somewhere or something, right? And he pulls out a Josh Allen gold prism, right? And then he said he sold it for it was like under $500. It was something like in the $500 range, right? But it was like, really, the gold prism, even back then when he first got it, it's like, well, that's a chase card. That's one of those cards that you've got it, you hold it now for 10 years because the money that you have invested into it is so cheap comparatively to what that card can be. That's a legitimate chase card of a premier quarterback because he instantly was showing that he had the stuff. Right when he came into the league, he showed he was good, right? So that's like one of those things too. It's like, how did you let that card go? One of those stories, right? So it's like with Merle. Okay, Merle, you let the card go for $5,000. Okay, you did your job as a card seller. You did a good job. You made good money. But as being a card collector, you completely dropped the ball on this one. You messed up. You had that card. That was your card, right? And these other people, you could see them right there. They're ready to jump in. They know the bigger picture, and they're going to wait and they're in it for the long game. They know there's bigger stuff. So then, this is where I don't like the great curator, because he sneaks in there and like sweetens up. He plays his sweet talk and stuff. And I'm trying to think of that word, the right word there, right? Where he's tenderized him. I wasn't thinking of the word tenderize, but since we're talking about him, that's his word. He tenderized him, right? He tenderized him, softened them all up and stuff, right? And he makes the deal, and great curator acquires the card off of Merle for $5,000. So it's same thing at that time. And actually, curator at that time, I do believe he was going to do those things. He was going to keep the card. He was going to use it as a showcase card. He was going to do all of those things, and he was going to hold it. But then Daps comes into the picture, and Daps wants the card, right? And great curator's thinking maybe $20,000, but he knows at $20,000 he'll think about it at 15. He's thinking about it. If he's going to put that price up of $20,000, he knows he's thinking about it at 15. He has to think, what should I do now, right? But so the great curator at that time, like I said, I don't blame him for selling it, because he was looking at the bigger picture, and he said, look I'm going to sell it to this guy, and I'm going to make a good profit. I'm going to get a good price. We're going to establish these cards. Now they have a base of what they're actually worth, that they have a real value. This is a guy that's going to help promote this card, which is going to help promote him to build up all of his other cards and stuff. So there was a bigger picture in it for the curator, right? So that's why at that point it was okay for him to let the Grail card go, because he was looking at the bigger picture. But Merle wasn't. Merle should not have let it go, because the upside for Merle there was not a big enough upside that just to be friendly and be nice and make some money. He should not have let that card go. He should have kept it and be, no, this is my Grail. This is one I'm keeping. This is what it's all about, is coming across something like this, a score like this, and you keep this, you hold it until you get the right sale. Because if you lose, Merle only loses $500. Plus that card, it's a one-on-one super factor. It's always going to be worth $500. He could never lose that card. That card was always going to be worth that price, right? So then, like I said, curator sells it off to Daps, which I don't mind him doing that, even if it was a Grail card of his, even if it is a Grail card, the profit he made plus the bigger picture of the exposure for the whole industry, I think it was worth it for that moment for him to go ahead and let the card go. I think it was fine. I don't have any problems with that, right? So then Daps is saying after that, he's saying this card could be a $100,000 card. And so like one of the things I want to say too is, because then people would compare this to when Sasha T was talking about the Charizard card, and he was buying it. He bought that card for it was close to 500,000, it was 400,000, whatever it was, at the Dallas card show. You people all know what I'm talking about. So when Sasha T got that card, he goes off on the side and he's saying this could be $1 million card. Okay, well the problem is there's a lot more of those Charizards in a PSA 10. They're out there. There's probably it's probably a pop count of 50, maybe 12, something like around there, right? Okay, there's like 50. Well, is there going to be 50 people out there willing to pay $1 million for that card, that there's 50 of them? It's like, it doesn't work. It doesn't balance itself out right. So the chance of that card becoming $1 million card, that's going to be extremely rare, because that card is not super rare. And there's not that many people out there that are going to be willing to pay that price. But this card, this is one of one. This is a one of one. This card, all you need is 5 people. You need 5 people to say that card's worth $1 million. 5 people, and one of them gets it, and it's the only one. So all you need is 5 people. You only need 5 people to believe in that card and believe it's worth $1 million for that card to sell for $1 million. You might only need 5 people. Okay? The Charizard, you needed to have a whole lot more people for that card to get. See, it doesn't work, okay? But this one, it did. This is the one. This was the card. This card transitioned over the Star Wars because of the Kurosawa connection to it and the Seven Samurai. It had a lot of different lineage. Plus with the I'm sure people in Japan would super love that card. I bet there's people in Japan that have that samurai culture and stuff and know about the Kurosawa. I bet there's people in Japan. I bet right now that Daps could sell this card in Japan for more than what he paid. He can definitely make money off it. No doubt about it, right? This is a good card and stuff, right? So that's what I'm saying with AIH Sports. his attack upon these people for every single step. He attacked them on every aspect of all of the things. And I think I went through all of them and tried to explain them, right? And I'm showing that the few places for where the proper attack lied upon this is easily explained, because Merle is friends with Great Curator and stuff, right? And then the Great Curator was treating it like it was a Grail card, but then opportunity arose and he had to let it go. So, like I said, I don't blame all of these people. There's really not a lot of blame to. And then the bigger picture is this was not a pump and dump, which AIH over and over and over accused him of pumping and dumping. He accused all of these guys. And around this card, everything revolving around this, AIH attacked him as a pump and dump. And now I'm going to show you the hardcore reality of where AIH was totally wrong. Okay, so this is in eBay, right there. Okay, sold October 17th, 2022. So that's yesterday. Okay, sold on auction, which an auction is usually going to generate, especially in a market like this, auctions are usually going to generate where you're going to find your best, the lowest price. It's in a market like this with these cards. Usually a lot of these cards are failing to meet up to expectations. That's the market we're in, like the PMG thing that when sold for 100 grand, then it sold for 10 grand, whatever it was, right? Whatever that PMG, because that was an auction thing, right? So this is an auction. So this is like comparing apples to apples as best as we possibly can do to say what is the value of this card. So now this is, like I said, this just happened. You can see there. Kurosawa. It's in a PSA 9. I'll go through this. So it's a 2021 top Star Wars Galaxy X-Fractor Jedi a la Kurosawa, 2 out of 10 in a PSA 9, okay? Because the Super Fractor graded as a PSA 9. So I said, again, we're totally comparing apples to apples here. And now this is out of 2 out of 10. Okay, the Super Fractor's a 1 of 1. So what is the multiplier? Because we're talking about an identical graded PSA grade 9, you know, it's an identical. And this just sold yesterday, so we're in the current market of where we're at. This card sold for $2,500. Sold at auction, and it's a 1 out of 10, which would put the value of the Super Fractor easily at the price that was paid for it, which was $16,500, I believe is what DAPS paid to the curator. Then the 1 of 1 is easily worth that amount. Now, if it went to auction, would it sell for that amount? You can't guarantee that, but I bet it'd get close. I bet it goes over 10 grand if that card came up at auction right now, and we're in a down market. Even in a down market, that card is still going to be selling for close to what DAPS paid for it. Right? So then what's the upside when the market starts to reboom, when it starts to regrow strength? Plus when, let's say the Star Wars cards, they're making new ones, right? Let's say that they bring in more collectors. Let's say the collectors thing keeps growing, and let's say in 5 years there's a large collectors community of Star Wars cards collectors. Then how much is the Kurosawa card going to be worth at that time? Will it be worth $100,000? I sure think it could be worth $100,000. So for DAPS to claim that this is a $100,000 card, yeah, in a matter of time, I would see that there's going to be a time where you just hold, play the long game, keep the card, let that card be like one of your representatives of how you represent yourself. So DAPS is doing a great job of that now, putting it on a necklace and wearing it around like it's something really valuable, and he's identifying himself. He's getting himself connected to that card, which increases the value of the card because everybody knows, you know the lineage, the history, the lineage of the card. We know the lineage of that card. We know who owned it. We know how it got bought and sold, which increases the value of the card in the long run. There's all positive things and stuff, right? And like I said, AIH went after all of them for this thing. Now this right here, this video of I'm making, just proved that AIH's attack on the curator and Merle and DAPS as being a pump and dump to the Star Wars card community and the collector community, and he was attacking them specifically on this one Kurosawa card. I just completely debunked 100% every single aspect of AIH Sports' attack upon these people from this card. Completely debunked, to where the point that AIH needs to come out and publicly acknowledge that he was wrong about this one. When you make a mistake on this level, if you attack somebody on this level and you are clearly proven to be wrong, then it is your responsibility to come out and say, look, history now has played out, and history has shown that AIH needs to say that he, as it's played out, that he was wrong. That his thoughts process of what was taking place and how he was analyzing this, he was completely wrong, that there was no wrongdoing whatsoever from Merle, Curator, or DAP Sports, and that card is holding its value in a down market, and that card is legit. He needs to apologize to the people that he insulted, plus he needs to apologize as that card and acknowledge that that card has a greater value than what he was aware of it, and he didn't understand the true value of what that card was. You were completely wrong, AIH Sports, 100% wrong on every single part and aspect of your very rude, negative attack that you did towards these people that was unwarranted. It was an unwarranted attack and was unjustified. With the facts that you put forward were false. You falsified your evidence and your claims. All of your stuff was wrong. I just proved that you're wrong, and I personally demand that AIH comes out and publicly apologizes for this false attack that he put onto Merle, the Curator, and DAP Sports, and the entire sports card and collectibles community.